going on to the film that you've been in, the character Marvin, Pulp
Yeah.
Fiction. Um, did you? What was your original audition? I take you auditioned for a part. Was there a part that you went for?
I auditioned for Marvin um, because prior to that, several months, I believe, I had met Quentin Tarantino at a improv comedy show that we got to perform on stage together. He was friends with Groundling alum Julia Sweeney, who was on Saturday Night Live, and so she invited Quentin to come be our celebrity guest in an improv show one time, and he was very good. I thought he was very good, but apparently he thought I was pretty good because he asked the casting people to bring me in to audition for the part of Marvin, which was great.
What was what's Quentin Tarantino like as a director? I bet there's a lot of passion and fire just coming out of him, like just coming out everywhere. Because every time I see him talk about film, it's just nonstop energy, 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 and I'm just thinking, man, I just like to pick that man's brain for an hour, just about films. But what was it like to work under him as a director?
Well, actually, on set directing, Quentin is wearing a completely different hat. Like, hanging out with him at a party, we'll talk, run on and on for 45 minutes about, some great blaxploitation movie from the 70s.
Hmm.
But on set, he is so much more open and warm and not talking as much. Although he is open to everybody. He treats the production assistant with as much generosity and openness as the camera man. You know, and what that does is it makes that set a kind, open place. Because on some movie sets where the director tries to make himself feel like the top of the pyramid and maybe will yell at somebody else or something, it creates a negative vibe. And anybody else who runs their lighting department says, oh, I can yell at my guy. But when your director is nice to everybody, regardless of their level, it's like, well, the art department guy can't scream at one of his underlings because that underling might have lunch with Quentin, And so he'll talk about, oh, he made me cry. It's like, what? Oh, I don't. All right, I'll talk to him. And Quentin might come and talk to that guy. I mean, the person in charge sets the tone of the set. That's why the time shooting on Pulp Fiction was one of the greatest on-set experiences, still going, of my career.
Hmm. Ezekiel 25:17, Samuel L. Jackson, the
Yeah.
monologue that is quoted just as much as Shakespeare. And Samuel L. Jackson, I think, is one of the finest, brilliant actors. And even though he's already done films like Menace to Society and oh my God, there's so many films that I can't even think of the top of my head. I remember Coming to America and he was only in it for a few seconds.
Yeah, and he
Um,
was in several Spike Lee movies before Pulp Fiction.
yeah, yeah, that's what I mean. I'm like, why do I not know any Spike Lee film? Come on, Reese. But it was that film that gave him his first ever Oscar nomination, I think, hopefully, or only Oscar nomination. I know he got an honorary Oscar later to come, but it sort of transpired, transformed him into a big star, even though he's done many, many films with Spike Lee and a few other directors. But for you to be sat in that corner or stood in that corner and he's got the gun in his hand and he's giving that monologue to what's the actor's name who sat there? Oh, he's so recognizable. I just can't think of his name. Oh,
Sitting in the chair, Frank Whaley.
yeah, yeah.
It's Brett.
Um, yeah, and what was that like? That must have been intimidating because the way he was carrying that, delivering that monologue, not carrying it, delivering that monologue. Mm. 'Cause, mm.
Well, it was inspiring. it was actually scaring in one way, just because, I had done rehearsal with Sam, got to have lunch with him, and met this sweet guy who had an award created for him at the Cannes Film Festival, you know. But you're absolutely right. His level of quality was already known, but he was not, like we were talking before about the correlation between quality and success.
Mm,
But this movie is what made his name a brand.
mm,
But everybody knew how great he was. But but Offset, he's just a nice guy, and you'll be sitting talking with him about his daughter or about golf or whatever. Just a sweet person.
mm.
But then on set, wait, the guy I was just talking to is gone. I'm looking into somebody else's eyes now. And it was incredibly inspiring to see a person literally transform themselves
Mhm.
effortlessly in front of you. He changed his energy, his vibe, like that. And I was like, oh, I got to learn how to do that. Again, it was like being in your best acting class, but watching your teacher do what he's telling you to do. But this guy didn't tell you to do it, but you're just like, oh, wow. He set the bar for, like, I've got to learn how to do that, to completely embody a character instantly.
Mm.
So that was not intimidating, inspiring. Although if Sam turned and looked at me and was like, I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing, that would have been fine. But when Jules actually did it, the look of fear you see on Marvin's face in those shots is real fear. Because that was not Sam looking at Phil.
Mm.
That was some other guy looking at me.
Yeah, that was Jules looking at Marvin going, who who
Right?
who put $1 in you, mate? Sit down. What about John Travolta? Because a lot of people, from what I've seen in interviews and everything, a lot of people mention about Quentin Tarantino and Samuel Jackson because of obviously because of the way Pulp Fiction went. It just shot off in the stars. It was always in the top 10 greatest movies ever, and rightfully so. I will challenge anyone on that. But I never hear John Travolta because you share not just a car with him. You're sharing the same car with him, and obviously you get head blown off. But to be around John Travolta because I think at the time wasn't he like he it was something to do with his career that he did a few bad movies, and a lot of people thought it was a bad gamble on Quentin Tarantino to put John Travolta in that position. But for you, as like a maybe as the person and maybe as the actor, what was it like to be around John Travolta as well?
It was, again, inspiring, because here is somebody who I had grown up with their name on a marquee. He was world famous for decades by the time I got to work beside him. And um, he, again, was not showing off his stature. And yes, not because he had just done 3 talking baby movies, but yes, you're right. At that time, people were thinking, well, he's not acting like the big name movie star that he should be. Like, somebody as famous as that name should only be in big type, blockbuster movies.
Mm,
But John was like, no, I'm going to do a movie that's fun. And it was interesting because he had a sense of how his character interacted with the audience. And I'm sure that he chose to do this movie because he read that script and said, this was fantastic. I'm pretty sure that's how Quentin got all of these big name stars
mm,
into his little second independent, film,
mm,
because it was so great. And I'm sure John was there. It's like this, and it was interesting because there was one thing that John had a vibe about, and he asked Quentin to change something in the script.
mm. Yeah, yeah, I remember that.
Have
It
you
was
heard me tell that story before?
no, was it something to do with? I think it was John. I read somewhere it was John to not read watched. It was John Travolta. Was it something to do with when uh he accidentally shoots your character, and
Mhm.
he just said it was supposed to say in the script, "Oh, I shot Marvin," and he went, "No, no, it's got to be not. I'll say the word
Well, no,
innocent,
no,
but
Reese, what it is originally
mm,
Vincent was supposed to shoot Marvin twice.
really? Oh
Yes,
shit!
he was supposed to turn around and come on, you man, you gotta have an opinion. And then the gun went off accidentally, hit the kid in the throat. And he's back there bleeding, and and the two guys are bantering back and forth. Hey man, what'd you do? It's like, oh no, you hit a bump or something. No, I didn't. Yeah. Well, go ahead and put him out of his misery. We can't take him to a hospital. All right, fine. On the count of three, I'm gonna hit a horn. One, two, three. And then they get covered in blood and brain.
Mm,
Oh crap, we got, and that's how the Harvey Keitel character has to come in and all that,
mm,
which all stays the same. But John thought, no, Quentin, it's funny because I remember when we walked in to rehearsal, it's like, Quentin's, hey guys, this is Phil LaMarr. It's like, yeah. It's like, oh, this is a kid I gotta shoot. The audience is gonna hate me. And he told Quentin, it's like, no, no, if Vincent kills this little nice kid on purpose, they're not going to enjoy. I don't know if he said this, but he thought maybe they wouldn't enjoy his dancing later as
mm,
well. Um, so they changed it to just the one accidental shot.
yeah, that's so interesting. I love just things like that. It's like, really? Oh. When it came to it went to Cannes Film Festival, won the Palme d'Or, nominated for Oscars, winning won for Best Original Screenplay. Even though Pulp Fiction was up against Shawshank Redemption and Forrest Gump for crying out loud, but I think that must have been one crazy year for film in sense for like Pulp Fiction, but earning over $250 million at the box office on a small scale budget as well at the time. I
Eight
bet
million.
when yeah, I bet when you look back, because Pulp Fiction is such an iconic film that no, even it's like the small parts in films, anyone who had a cameo, anyone who's even Steve Buscemi, people remember Steve Buscemi for playing a waiter as Buddy Holly waiter, but people remember it. I bet when for you, that must have been quite an experience that people will come up and go, "Hey, Marvin, how's the face?"
Well, not so much. I mean, just because the character, well, I mean, most people don't recognize, I mean, they recognize Steve Buscemi as Buddy Holly. Oh, there's the guy from Reservoir Dogs. But usually what will happen is I'll have a friend or something, and then we'll meet, hang out, and then they'll go and rewatch Pulp Fiction for the first time since we met and go, oh wait, Phil, I didn't realize that was you, the guy in the back seat of the car. You know, because the character doesn't have any big monologues and wacky
Mm.
bits. It doesn't stand out. Well, it's mostly his blood that stands out.